Welcome back to part 2 series with Wayne Blakely and Living Streams Probiotics. If you haven't listened to part 1, I suggest you do so to learn more about the mechanisms of how they work and how they're made. So in this interview, the first question I asked Wayne was, when is the best time to take probiotics? As well as, let's talk about the first one that he's ever made. Have a listen.
It's really good to take the products when you eat, especially the Living Streams
Yes.
multi-blend. I think that's what you wanted to talk about was
Yes.
the multi-blend, how powerful it is and how well it works.
What?
Now
Yes.
that
Why does it work so well? It works well with people with symptoms of IBS, any kind
right,
of bloat, stomach
yeah,
distension. I call
right,
it the biofilm buster.
right,
We talk
right,
about that on the
yeah,
show,
right,
and it's an incredible product. And so I can't give the information to people because I don't understand it like you do, and that's why we're doing this recording, because I want people to understand exactly the Living Streams multi-blend probiotic, how it works and why it works.
Well, it's a very diverse product. It works in many ways, and we've been using it a lot for people with indigestion gas problems. It works like almost overnight. And all you have to do is just take, when you eat your food, we always recommend you drink a lot of water when you eat your food. And we can go into that subject another time, but right now you should be drinking a lot of water, and you just take a few drops of Living Streams and put it in the water. And while you're eating your food, you drink the water, and it literally almost immediately stops the gas production in your digestive tract.
Right.
And there's reasons for that. There's reason because pathogenic bacteria and probiotics in your own digestive tract are always at war. And when you put a lot of these byproducts that are in the liquid in there with the enzymes, amino acid, number one, it helps you digest your food more efficiently. And bacteria, normally, if you don't have this, what causes gas is bacteria living in areas, pathogenic bacteria living in areas not supposed to live at, especially the stomach and the upper part of the small intestinal tract. Those are probiotic territories, good probiotics. Pro means pro-life, not antibiotic. Okay, so they should be living there, probiotics, and that's where the digestion starts, right below the stomach line. The real true digestion starts right there. Well, guess what? There's pathogenic bacteria. They're going to produce hydrogen, methane, all kinds of other crap, poison. And that's why you feel so sick. All the way down your 25-foot of small intestinal tract, those pathogenic bacteria eating that food, producing poison for the body. This is what starts it. See, when the low acid content in the stomach is a whole cycle. The SIBO map can explain all that, exactly how it functions. It works out. That's why I work with you, because you're a genius when it comes to this stuff, and I'm a genius on what I do. No, I'm not going to call myself a genius because
you kind of are.
But I know this stuff better. I know this stuff better than a microbiologist. I know that.
I know you do.
And I've had arguments with him a lot, but that's just another story. But
Yep.
The probiotics, the Living Streams multi-blend is a multi-diverse product. It helps you digest your food. It helps your liver get detoxed. It helps your killing off pathogenic bacteria naturally, the way they normally do, fighting against the enemy. The enemy is the pathogenic bacteria. Those are the ones that cause damage. Those are the ones that produce poison in your body and makes you sick.
Yes, now, leading to a leaky gut. So then the probiotics, if you get rid of them. So in retrospect, the multi-blend also helps with leaky gut.
All you're doing is overpopulating your body with good probiotics. Overpopulating, so the war. It's like, for instance, when a general is at war in Europe, for instance, he's in war, right? He needs more men. He needs to bring in a lot more men. He needs to overpower the enemy. And that's exactly what probiotics do to the pathogenic bacteria, because they're fighting all the time. They fight against each other and they kill each other. So there's all kinds of processes that works like that. But also what Living Streams multi-blend is we have two species. Remember we talked about Paracasey. They produce huge amounts of oxygen. What does a aerobic microbe, like an anaerobic microbe or any other bacteria and funguses and things like this hate? They hate oxygen. Too much oxygen will kill them. You see what I mean? There's all kinds of processes these guys produce naturally that actually the enemies. They do this on purpose, by the way, to fight their enemy. They do that. They adapt. And that's what I like about dealing with probiotics, because you can adapt them to do many things.
So did you adapt them to survive stomach acid?
No, they're naturally that way. They have a leather coating on them. The bacilluses, most of the bacilluses can live right through the acid, even down to 1.0. They can survive it because they're acid. mean, they're designed to live in acid. They thrive in acid.
Right.
Not like a pathogenic bacteria cannot thrive in acid. They just can't stand it. This is the reason that when your stomach acid is low, pathogenic bacteria, it's low enough for pathogenic bacteria to live in it. Certain bacteria can live in it, like H. pylori and things like that, can live right in your stomach lining. And when the food comes in or the food, they start munching on it.
That's right.
And they start producing gas. When they do the chemical reaction with their enzymes, just like a probiotic does, they produce a gas. And that's where the belching, the gas, and the bloating comes in. Okay. So you can kill them, though. You can get rid of them, be overpopulated with probiotics. It's an overpopulation of the enemy. It's dumping right. It's like influx in an army bringing in 1 million soldiers.
Yes.
To help you fight the enemy. That's exactly what it is. There's no different. So that's the way it works. Our products work like a probiotic is supposed to work, not like powdered crap. That's not, naturally we get probiotics from, like for instance, the way I derived my Living Streams multi-blend, I found a dairy operation in northern Missouri that had third generation organic grower, and he had A2 cows. So I got a sample of his milk. I tested his milk because they were selling at the local grocery store. It was homogenized and pasteurized, but it tasted different than normal milk. So I took a visit to the farm, and I bought some of his milk, just a sample of it. I sent it to ABC Research Lab in Florida to get to find out what exactly was in this stuff, what kind of bacteria is in the milk. And so they tested it. They brought up shining a star letter back saying, well, there's no pathogenic bacteria in it, and there's nothing but lactic acid microbes, and they identified 3 of them. And there was about a dozen in there. And they were all good for the body. Every one of them was good for the body.
And they survived pasteurization.
No, these were raw milk.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I went up there I went up to the farm and I bought some samples, raw milk from them. And I took it from the blend of the herd. In other words, they had all the milk in one vat, and I took a blend of the whole herd, okay, to have it tested, because we were doing research on animals at the time with dairy operations, organic dairy. Now, he wasn't claiming to be an organic dairy. See, he was just selling milk to local. He was a small operator. He had like 200 head of cows. But I tasted the milk, and something was different about the milk. So I took a visit up there, and I got some raw product, and that's where I derived my Living Streams multi-blend from. I took those bacteria out of the milk, and there's no milk in our product. So I adapted them to eat other kinds of foods. It took time to do that. So I adapted them to break down different, and started feeding them. They're actually more powerful now than when I got them. Way more powerful, because of our test results show that. So that's where you can get bacteria. Believe it or not, most of the probiotics that are on the market right now are derived from cow manure. About 95% of them. I get it from the cow manure.
It's not a good thing.
Now the reason
doesn't sound like a good thing.
Well, I mean, that's just the way it is, It's the way it is.
But your products, in terms of that, are dairy free.
Oh, there's no dairy, no animal byproducts. There's no. You don't have no grains in it. They're all made from herbs, raw nutrient.
No fillers.
Sugars. I have 6 different types of sugars in there. I have inlands, all kinds of inlands in there.
So Wayne, I just wanted you to touch on this a little bit. You were telling me that you can feel the energy from the probiotics when you're in your lab. So you got all these big containers, and they're in there, and they know when you're there.
Yeah.
You can sense the environment.
Well, I can see it. My daughter can feel the energy. She's really good at it.
Okay.
So I'm a man, so I'm pretty.
Right.
I'm not like sensitive like a woman is. So.
Well,
anyway,
you see it. What do you mean by that?
They start gassing more. I mean, they recognize it. See, you got to understand that all these probiotics, they're symbiotic to the body. They belong in our body. They have to have a home. They really want a home, and that's the way they are. If you don't have a home for them in a container, you leave them in there long enough, they'll all link together. They call it in Bragg's apple cider vinegar. They call it the mother, and they link together and make a slimy. They'll be discolored. You can see it in apple cider vinegar. That's what you call the mother. Those are all acidophilus microbes linked together because they want to have a home to live in. And they want a body to live in. They're symbiotic to the human body or a plant or something else. They'll get into a plant you just apples. You find on the outside of apples, you find acidophilus all over them. That's what protects them. but they like that frequency and they like that nutrient that's in the apple. So they're living off of it. They're microscopic, of course. You can't see them without a microscope. But they live on there, and that's what makes apple cider vinegar. All they do is crush the apples. They don't have to do anything good to crush it, and they're right there. So, see what I mean?
Yeah. Anything to add about the multi-blend before we move on to the
The multi-blend is just great for the digestive tract because it's, it was the reason we got it out of milk is this is what happens in mammals. They write books about this, but you can't find anybody that really knows this stuff unless they're in the dairy research business where you're dealing with cows, because they write it about cows. There's a lymph system runs through the digestive tract of a cow up through the udder, out through the nipple. When the milk is pumped out, it injects bacteria in the milk. Now, in the udder, the milk is sterile. But when it comes out the nipple, it is injected the probiotics or bacteria from the digestive tract. So if you got a sick cow, this is one of the reasons that milk, A1 milk, which is normally found in a grocery store, is full of poison. And makes sometimes people they're allergic to it. It's poison to them if they're sensitive. When they drink the milk, they're drinking nothing but byproducts of pathogenic bacteria. But if you find an A2 cow that has nothing but natural bacteria, that's why when I discovered this one farm, I was so excited because it has everything in it. The whole farm was clean, not just the cow. The whole farm was clean. And it's third generation organic up in the middle of nowhere, by the way. They're up in the middle, no town nearby, 60 miles out of any major city. So I went up there and I got that milk and I tested it. And that's what I was looking for. I went through 3 or 4 other dairies, organic dairies, trying to find good, clean milk. And the three in Kansas City, Missouri, that were organic farms, we sent it down to ABC Labs and had it tested. And none of them had free dairy, even had a probiotic in the milk at all. They were all pathogenic. In fact, one of them had a warning letter and it said, treat this as a toxic waste because there's bacteria that will kill people. That was in the milk they sell as organic. That's why it's dangerous to buy milk that's raw milk.
Wow.
Unless you send it to a lab and have it checked for coliforms, which is a poison that they check for milk to see if there's any pathogenic bacteria in it. You could have it checked pretty easily. And I would never buy raw milk. I would never without having it tested in a lab because this stuff is, and God knows how many people they have killed by drinking that milk. Who knows? Nobody knows.
So would you have it tested even if it was coming from a healthy cow that you knew was healthy?
Absolutely. You never know what's in that stuff. But these cows had no pathogenic bacteria in their milk at all. No sign of any, and nothing but good probiotics. And these cows were healthy. I checked them. I looked at them. I was there for a whole afternoon checking their dairy. And I talked them into giving me some samples, and I did, and that's what I derived it from. So that's what you call an A2 cow, totally healthy cow with no pathogenic bacteria, I'm saying. And it's kind of hard to do. I mean, it took us, Toby Groats and I worked on that for probably 8 months to find it. And I found that after the fact we quit our dairy research. So you can imagine our research to begin with. For 8 months we studied this, and we found but I found that dairy operation after he had gone from the company we were working with. Found it after on my own, and I found that dairy operation. I was still looking. I didn't stop looking, and I found it. And boy, I tell you what, it's paid off. Now these bacteria are much, much stronger, because I feed them everything they need to eat to make strong, healthy. And every time they replicate, they get better and better. So.
Okay, there's another question is, because it's the only pretty much, I think they do have other liquid probiotics on the market now, but of course they don't go on the skin like yours do. All your products can go on your skin.
Right.
So if we're using multi-blend, for example, we're using it predominantly for digestive health.
Right.
Why would somebody put it on their skin?
Well, the enzymes and amino acids that are in the product, that's what really does that. It's a pre-digested nutrient that's floating around. Remember I told you the bacteria sit around and float up that pre-digested nutrient that after they work hard and they just sit around and, doing a backstroke in there, they're swimming around just absorbing the nutrient, not really working. Well, the body needs that product too. It can go right away into the bloodstream. It goes right to the skin. The skin is very porous. You put anything on your skin, you're going to go right through. You were
saying something like in 16 seconds it's in your bloodstream.
Well, 20 seconds we know that it gets into the bloodstream, And the
Okay.
nutrient, you can feel it. A lot of people that are really, really sick are really starving. Most people starving to death because they can't absorb their food right. So
Right.
that's why people eat and eat and eat all the time. But you put this on your skin, you can feel. A lot of women, especially women, can feel it, and it starts working immediately. We
Okay.
put it on the skin because it's a nutrient too. It's a nutrient besides a probiotic. All my products are like that,
Okay.
except for one. All the rest of them have nutrient in them that actually feeds the body, helps feed the body. And it's all pre-digested ahead of time, so your body doesn't have to process it. It's already there. That's the byproduct of the probiotic.
So was MultiBlend your first product that you came out with?
That's the first one I came up with. The second was the living mineral probiotic. And I
Yep.
developed that. I developed that living mineral probiotics. It took me 2 years to get those to work correctly because I had to adapt them to break down trace minerals. And the first test I did was breaking down clay because I lived in a county in Missouri called Clay County. And if you dig down about 2 inches of topsoil, it's nothing but clay. It goes down 100 feet in the ground.
Oh wow. I didn't know that.
So I started developing, working on that for 2 years to get to adapt them to break down clay, which clay is a mineral bank of our country, and all the minerals in our soil. I was adapting because I was working on soil. So, but when I found out that minerals was the only way to detox a cell, trace minerals the only way that you can detox a cell to cleanse itself, water and the minerals, because the cell will open up to pick up the trace mineral, and in the meantime, water. If you have a lot of water in your bloodstream, it'll flush out the cell, and it helps clean the cell. That's how you can detox heavy metals and poison out of the cell, because the cell will not open up and release this poison that's inside the cell unless it has a trace mineral there to do it. So when I read those studies, I thought, wow, well, I got to make it. So I used the Dead Sea magnesium chloride to break down the Dead Sea magnesium chloride, the same bacteria, to adapt it, to break it down so humans could get those and animals could get those trace minerals, because the Dead Sea magnesium chloride is not in the right form. And you have in the Dead Sea magnesium chloride has every mineral in the world in that solution. There's 12 minerals in the Dead Sea magnesium chloride that are not found in seawater.
Well, if
That's why
they're
it's
in, why are they in there if it's called the Dead Sea?
because that ocean was blocked off thousands, millions of, I don't know how many thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years ago. It was an open sea on it, and it had an earthquake, and it blocked that. They call it Dead Sea because nothing can live in it because it's got so many minerals in it. Nothing. It's the best disinfectant you ever could see. It will kill, and nothing lives in it. That's why they call it the Dead Sea. There's no fish in it. There's nothing that grows in it. It's full of magnesium chloride, calcium chloride, and salt. And so I don't want to get into talking about Dead Sea magnesium. I'm
Right.
just going to tell you about Dead Sea magnesium chloride has every trace mineral in the world in it. The problem with the Dead Sea or any other mineral is we can't absorb it. It has to be digested by a bacteria, just like a food, puts it in the right amino acid format so that our cells can accept it. You understand? That's how our bodies can accept it. You can eat all the minerals you want. You're not going to absorb any of them. But very little. You get very little. Maybe magnesium some. But you're not going to get the trace minerals that are in that correctly,
Right.
because there's several reasons for that. But it has to be digested by a bacteria, and you have to have those bacteria in your digestive tract, which most people don't now, especially in America, and they're gone because of antibiotics. And once you get the Dead Sea magnesium chloride in your body, it has to be able to transmute those molecules, that molecule, into the right amino acids so your cells can accept it. That's what I come in. I adapt them to do that kind of stuff. And I understand how it works. So that's what takes all my, that's had to take up most of my life doing this stuff, to trying to figure out how to do that, to adapt. First thing I had to do is how to train bacteria to adapt. That was years ago. How to get them to do that. And it's very difficult. We've done tests with different kinds of chemicals, how to take them out of, artificial water wells and things like this, take them out of water wells and to adapt them. So it's an adaptation of microorganisms, what I specialize in. And
And you were saying, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm done. I'm done.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
was just going to say that we were talking before. This is when you started telling me about minerals. Was that we need at least 56 minerals to make a perfect cell.
That's correct.
And right now we're getting in our soil. We're so deficient. We're lucky we're getting 4 to 6 minerals.
Yeah, 6 is the best you can get. You can find anywhere in the country. But normal food that you buy at the store, you're getting 4, and that's all. That's the only thing the farmer puts in the soil that can be absorbed by the plant. So that's all we're getting. The only minerals you ever got came from your mother, from her bones
Right.
when you're in the womb. And then those minerals are all, that's why every generation is getting weaker and weaker because of trace minerals. Listen, they knew this back in 1936 when they published a survey. They did a survey. The United States government did a survey of the United States, and they found it was 0 trace minerals in our soil. 0. They had none. In 1937, Roosevelt put out a national emergency. He created a national emergency to get all the researchers in the country to come together to try to figure out how to put trace minerals back in our soil. That was the last word they said about it. Well, it hasn't gotten any better. Nobody's done a thing about it. See?
I think Richard Ulray mentioned that in his book too, The Minerals for Genetic Code.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And so I set out to develop a product that would break the soil, break the clays down, which is our mineral bank. It's full of minerals, just that our plants can't access. I mean, they're not in the right form. So I set out to break that clay down, and I did it. I accomplished, but it took 2 years to be able to figure out how to do it, to adapt because in our soil in North America and South America, including Canada, there is no probiotics in the soil, no bacteria in the soil that can break down the clay or break down any other mineral. It's impossible. And that's what's the problem. But I developed products to do that, to break down those clays so the plant can absorb. That's why we can grow 10-foot tall corn with 4 ears on it. We grow millet with heads that are 13, 14 inches long with 100 times more seeds on them, things like that, because they're getting the trace minerals.
Right.
See, so that's what we did. So that stuff to me is all in the past now. But I did a lot of agriculture work, a lot of animals work with helping animals survive and make them healthier. And you'd be amazed what animals and human body can do if you just give it the right stuff. It's a body that does it. You just got to give it the right stuff, the right different kinds, and it's all out there. You just got to purchase it. I buy stuff from all over the world just to make sure I have the best, to feed the bacteria to produce the best byproducts that they can produce for the human body.
And so even if we could digest it, most people have a very weak digestive system. They wouldn't be able to digest it even if they could. So what the probiotics does is breaks it down to the point where we don't even need to digest. We don't need to break it down ourselves.
No, we have to have bacteria to break down our food from the very get-go.
Right.
To digest our sustenance. And all this does is it breaks down all the food and you absorb a lot better. See, we're not absorbing any of our food anyway because we don't have any. That's another product. We'll talk about that. But we're not absorbing any of our food anyway because of the Roundup, the glyphosates that are in all the food. We're not absorbing any of it. Even though our food is bad, there is some nutrient in there, but we're not getting any of it.
It's amazing how we're still alive.
That's what I thought. When I said, how in the world are Americans alive? I mean, how can we be alive when we're not getting any of the food's crappy anyway? We're not getting any of it anyway. And that's why people eat all the time. They're constantly eating because their body's starving to death.
They're mineral deficient, absolutely.
They're mineral deficiency, right. And we become toxic because of that. We don't have minerals. And we get weaker. And
vitamins don't work unless you have minerals.
Right. Exactly. And we're not getting the minerals. No matter how many minerals you take, you're not absorbing them because of the Roundup. The Roundup is a perfect example of what it does. It stops the sulfur uptake, and when your food is formed to absorb into your body at the base of your small intestinal tract, when it starts to form there, that instead of using the minerals, which are not there in the right form to utilize, and you don't have the bacteria to break down those minerals, what happens is it takes a calcium molecule, an electron off a calcium. It's called electron donorship, where they form the molecules correctly so our body can be absorbed into our bloodstream so our cells can be fed. And what it does, instead of there's no minerals, the correct mineral in there to do that, so it takes a calcium molecule and takes electron off a calcium. And then when it goes into the bloodstream, guess what? It's nothing but plaque. It plaques everywhere because it's a fake calcium molecule. It's not real. You eat an apple or an orange or a banana, it all turns to calcium, everything. A fake calcium. It's not even the right form so that your body can assimilate it. You take a calcium pill, and guess what? It plaques all through your body. Yes. Women take calcium pills to think that they're going to help build their bones. Doesn't. They still get osteoporosis because guess what? The heart is the biggest consumer of calcium and magnesium in the body. Every time it pumps, it consumes calcium. Every time it releases, it consumes magnesium. So the only good calcium it has to keep you alive comes from your bones. It has to pull it out of your bones to beat the heart, because your body's going to take the calcium from your bones to keep that heart beating, to keep you alive. So every day you live, it's taking more and more calcium. You got calcium all through your body, but it's not real calcium. The body cannot utilize it. It has to come from your bones because that's clean calcium.
Right.
And it has to utilize. That's why it causes osteoporosis. It's the cause of it. See? So you got to stop that cycle. We can do that. We know how to do that, but I'm not going to get into those yet. This is our first interview. So.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. I just go on different
No,
tangents.
I mean that's very important stuff, because a lot of women are taking the calcium carbonate and they're getting too much calcium in their body, and that's not a good thing either.
Well, it's not as if they're not getting any good calcium.
Right. So they're not able to break it down and utilize
Listen,
it.
the American Medical Association states this: everybody in this country, men and women, by the time they're 25 years old, they have enough plaque in their body to give them a heart attack. You can go to American and look it right up. It's right there.
Right.
That's how much plaque we get, because we're not absorbing it. You see, this is why I say, how in the world are we alive? How in the world, if is a human body, how can they get up in the morning and go to the bathroom? I mean, I don't know how they even do it, You see what I mean? Because we don't have enough energy. Everybody's tired. Everybody's exhausted because they're not getting any food. Sick and tired, right.
Sick and tired, and most women are hypothyroid and constipated.
And yeah, that's right. And so, well, I mean, in 1949, the American Medical Association had a big study done, and they had a big conferences going on in 1949, and that's when they decided that the medical industry has to specialize. They have to specialize. They're going to have to get rid of GPs. Now, this happened a long time ago, but they did this, and I read the studies on it. Okay, they decided they were going to specialize because they're going to need it in the future, very near future, because people are going to have organ failures. They're going to have, liver failures and heart failures. Had to create specialists in bone doctors, kidney doctors, and all this other stuff for one specific reason, because malnutrition. And you know what the malnutrition was? Trace minerals. That's what they were discussing. They had to specialize. Get rid of the GPs because no more. That's when they planned on doing it. That's when they started specializing. That's when they diversified their marketing plan, because they knew that malnutrition was causing, and it was all about trace minerals. That was a long time ago.
Wow.
And that's because we're not getting any food. They have no way to get the minerals back in the soil. And I did that back in the 90s. I was learning about that back in the 90s and the early 2000s, how to do it, and I did it. Accomplished that project. But yet, when I go to the farmers with these products, show them how to do it, they don't care. Nobody cares. That's the reason I don't sell it anymore, because nobody cares. Not one person I found cared out there in the field. So I didn't care. So I quit. That's the reason I stopped selling minerals. I can take I can change everything in this country by doing that. And I'm getting these trace minerals from the Dead Sea in the soil. I could get them back in there, and they last for years and years. But nobody cared. Nobody wanted to, I spent $110,000 on that study trying to get people out there and spending money trying to get them to. Nobody cared. All they cared about, a way to get rid of your weeds.
Yes.
That's all the farmers are talking. You know how to get rid of, you got something to get rid of weeds? And I said, absolutely, I got something to get rid of weeds. He said, well, what is it? I said, a hoe. You know what a hoe is, right? That's how you get.
That's right, yeah.
Get rid of weeds. I said, if you want, you've done it. And they said, well, all I want is something that gets rid of weeds. And so that's what I dealt with all the time, even big farms, small farms. And the federal government will not allow me to market that product to growers. And each state has their own laws, and none of them want to do that. They wouldn't allow me to bring it in the states. And I tried Ohio, tried Michigan, I tried California. None of them would allow me to put it on the soils.
Well, that's the end of part 2 of an amazing 2-part series with Wayne Blakely, president of Living Streams Liquid Probiotics. If you haven't listened to part 1, please go back and have a listen as Wayne explains how he makes his probiotics, as well as how they make the probiotics that you're buying off the shelves in the supermarkets and the stores. If you'd like to order any of these products, please see the link below. And don't forget to like, share, or make any comments. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you